Hey, it's Mike Mantic here, and I've been asked what are my 5 ways to push past my comfort zone to grow both personally and professionally. The first one, without question, has to be to meditate, to learn to meditate if you don't already, or to meditate regularly if you do. It does a couple of things. One is that it's going to be the foundation of you coming to learn about who you are and the foundation of knowing yourself. It's also important that as you learn to silence your mind and you sit in that silence you have a better ability to connect with your intuition, to connect with that quiet voice of higher wisdom. So that's really important. The other thing is that you will learn to activate the witness to your life. And what I mean by that is that you will become more aware of the behaviors that are running you and act as a witness to them. Now, as soon as you're a witness to them, they no longer, or they cease to have the power that they had over you while they were operating unconsciously. So that's really, really mission critical. One of the most powerful positions you can take in life is I create everything. And if you take that position in life, then you will be asking yourself, why did I create this? What did I do to create that? That will leverage powerful answers. If you don't take that position, essentially what you're doing, if you don't have that witness and you don't take the position that you create everything, essentially what you're doing is setting yourself up to be a victim in life. You will be a victim to circumstances that happen to you. And you will be left with no answers as to why they happened to you. So it is absolutely essential that in order to create a powerful position in life, that you take on the job of becoming witness to your unconscious patterns, to your conscious patterns, to behaviors, to your results. And the second thing is to acknowledge responsibility for those results. Cool. So the second thing would be to carry a notebook and jot down your ideas. In the past, when I was younger, I worked in companies where it was required that we be creative from 8:30 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. And of course, that's complete nonsense. No one is creative in those time frames. Creativity comes whenever it comes. And your ability to have that level of witness and then jot down those ideas as they come before they get lost in the millions of other thoughts that we have in a day, it will create an incredible resource for you. The other thing is that we have limited bandwidth. Our mental bandwidth will only take in or absorb a certain amount of information and output a certain amount of information. So the moment you get those ideas down onto a notebook, you no longer are using bandwidth to remember them. You can literally say to yourself, that one's covered, forget about it until later. The beautiful thing with having a notebook like that is you review it, and there will be certain ideas that have such potency, such power, such staying power, if you like, that essentially they keep showing up in your life. And the beauty of that is that you can now set a task for your unconscious mind to dig into that question even deeper. What that means for me is that you can set a task to explore that. I know that there have been times where I've worked on ideas that have taken months, even years, to fully explore. And obviously we don't have the time in this day and age to sit there and contemplate those ideas forever. But what we can do is set up our unconscious mind to work on those problems and just deliver the next step, the next idea, the next evolution of that idea, so that it develops itself over time until you have it to a point where you can unfold it into the world. The third thing that I would suggest is to develop your intuition. Now, for most people, intuition's a vague, ethereal thing, like a butterfly. It comes and lands on you. You know, it's magical in the moment. But whether you can get that butterfly to land on you when you need it is a whole other question, right? Thankfully, intuition is something that can be developed, can be taught, can be learned, can be developed. And I'm talking not just sort of vague notions, ideas, glimpses of things, which is where most people are at with intuition, but I'm talking specific, detailed, verifiable, and usable information that you can take into the world. Now, I've done intuitive readings on people that have gone for an hour and a half, and that hour and a half has been jam-packed with so much radically precise information that they've been blown away, and that there's been more in the wings that I just haven't got to yet because we've run out of time. So there's a lot to be said for developing intuition in a way where you can access it on demand and apply it to whatever situation you happen to be in. The fourth thing is to develop a set of choices or goals or outcomes that you would like in your life. Now, the important thing here is that those outcomes need to be informed by your heart. Yeah, they need to be informed by your connection to your higher self. Because if they are informed by your identity, they will be basically working on trying to counteract your negative beliefs. If you feel like you are, if your negative beliefs are that you are poor, then you're going to choose to be rich according to these outcomes. But all you're doing is compensating for this feeling of poverty, which is only going to accelerate by doing that. That's a really obvious example for a lot of people. When you tune into your higher self, or you tune into your heart, there is no opposite. You're not compensating for anything else. So what you're doing is creating a vision of how you would love your life to be, and then you are coming up with outcomes based on that, informed by that. And that's really critical. And then the thing to do with those outcomes is to write them down and to go into them every morning. Tune into the emotional feeling of what that's like to have that happen in your life. Yeah, does that make sense? The fifth thing, and this to me is probably the most important thing, but it comes after doing all of that other stuff, and that is to learn to expand your consciousness. There's a well-known notion that's shown up in quite a few sort of New Age movies that the conscious mind can process around 2,000 bits of information a second, the unconscious mind up to 400 billion bits of information a second. So what that means is our conscious mind is filtering constantly as to what's essential, what's not essential, and the lens through which it is filtering is based on how you see the world, your picture of the world. We, as humans, will defend our picture of the world as though it is life-threatening, which is why it's so hard to take on new ideas, to work outside of the comfort zone. Because if the comfort zone is that you have to be a certain way and what's required of you is to be something different, you're going to ultimately not achieve that. So when you learn to tap into higher consciousness and use your intuition, use an elevated conscious perspective, essentially what you're doing is you are accessing more and more of that 400 billion bits of information that your subconscious mind has processed every second, right? And obviously 400 billion bits is a lot to process, so how we refine that is by looking at specific outcomes. What is the outcome that we want to achieve? What information did our subconscious mind pick up based on that intention? Super critical, right? Because that's the navigation, that's the GPS. Through an infinite universe, that becomes the GPS to find the answers that you seek. The great thing is that this used to be the realm of priests and shamans and visionaries, but it's becoming more and more open and obvious that people who are in leadership positions, people who have huge influence in the world, desperately need, and some of them are waking up to this, to learn how to expand their consciousness so that the information that they are getting, the inspiration, the intuition that they're getting about how to influence the world using the influence that they have at their leverage is driven by the absolute highest possible outcome that they can. That in itself, those 5 things, I think, could, if the people in power, those with influence, and those who seek to change the world in positive ways, I'm assuming you may be one of these, if everyone did those 5 things, I strongly believe that we would start to recognize or remember who we truly are in the world, who we truly are as spiritual beings having a human experience. And through that, we would radically change the world very, very quickly. So thanks for listening. That's my 5 tips. Hopefully that gives you something to think about and something to take out into the world with you. And if you are interested in learning more, reach out. Thanks. Bye.